Hi, it's raining. Well, it's not raining right now, but it's been raining for days and everything is canceled because of coronavirus. So we figured we'd take that time to make another car video in our backyard. This is one that people have been asking about for a long time. It is a 1976 Dodge Dart Light, Spirit of 76 edition.
Actually, it says light on it.
What, you think I'm lying?
Apparently not.
So, first of all, a lot of people don't know that the Dodge Dart had a Sportback like this. It's not a Duster. It's sort of the same shape as a Duster, but it was the Dodge Dart Sport, I think is what they used to call it. And in the late 70s, Dodge and Plymouth sort of realized that maybe people wanted some mileage out of their cars, some economy cars, had to compete with Datsuns and Corollas and these things that are coming out. So they took their lightest cars, the Dart and the Duster, and they made them even lighter. And they put their littlest engine in, the Slant 6, and they put a 4-speed with an overdrive transmission in it. And they also put a bunch of aluminum parts on. They did an aluminum intake manifold and aluminum bumper brackets and aluminum structure for the deck lid and for the hood. A lot of people think they had a fiberglass or fully aluminum hood and deck lid from the factory, and they didn't. It was steel. It was just a lighter weight setup because all of the underbracing was not heavy steel.
Were these tires for fuel economy, Alon?
Yeah, these are some fuel economy tires right here.
Wow, ahead of the game.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that, but like the bigger and stickier your tire is, the less gas it takes. Don't ever listen to me. Anyway, clearly this is no longer set up for fuel economy. Tom bought this car before me, back in the sad days, when his life was no good at all.
Yeah, let's call them the sad days.
Ah, hurtful. Anyway, Tom bought this car and he sold it to our friend Rod, who made a race car out of it. And Rod raced it for about 15 years. Did pretty well with it. He won some big trophies.
Yep.
And I think he ran 1020s up in Washington State with it.
Yep, used to go to LACR all the time. Los Angeles County Raceway out in Palmdale.
Yeah,
Gone
a lot
now.
of people know him. His nickname was Big Rods, and it wasn't because he was a little guy. So you can imagine that this was a pretty quick car. And when he got done with racing, he brought this car over to my backyard. In fact, I think I came home from work one day, and Rod was in the backyard putting the lettering on the window for me. And I was like, what's up? And he's like, well,
The glare is terrible.
you know, I think you should have a race car. So anyway, Rod gave me this car, and you know what? We didn't talk about the Spirit of 76 part. That's very important.
It's America's birthday.
It's America's birthday. So 1976 was the bicentennial, 200 years of America, and there were quite a few different companies that took advantage of that for marketing reasons. And so this eagle is a factory thing. Very cool.
Yeah, it's actually eagle's head in the beginning of it. You see, that's the stripe is an eagle's head, red, white, and blue.
All right, so that's the history lesson of this done. And now it is a 360 small block, partial fill, which means basically that it's got like concrete in it. And
It's high-class concrete, Alana.
it's high-class concrete.
He had trouble splitting cylinders since we filled up part of the block with hard block.
So it's not super streetable any longer. It's a 904 transmission with a low gear set.
Yep.
And I think it's 410s in the back.
It is currently 410s.
So nitrous setup. It's got a nitrous bottle on it. And
Big Rod liked to go fast.
Yeah. I got to race it, I think, 2 different races before our local racetrack closed. But it is on camera. If you look up last race at LACR, you can see this car in it. And
Yep, it's on YouTube.
I'm driving it, and I think I went out first round. Anyway, right now, we're not really racing this car. Don't have time. There are no racetracks nearby. All the excuses. Everybody always has excuses for not racing. Mostly, I'm not racing it because it needs to be towed to the track. And these days, who wants to tow a 10-second car to the track? I mean, it's got to run 8s and drive there on its own.
Oh,
right?
I'm sure this one runs 8s.
Yeah, you can't prove differently, so I'm going to say
It's like every car on the internet
car
runs
runs
8.
8s, totally streetable. It's not a big deal.
Let me showcase how we would get to the track if we were going back to the track. This is a 1971 Dodge D700 ramp truck. It's the former Bobby Yowell Pro Stock hauler. Bobby Yowell was an independent pro stock racer back in the 70s, and he bought this truck new, and they built a custom ramp body for it to go pro stock racing. We have a couple really poorly made pictures of what it used to be like.
Well, I mean, they're not poorly made, they're just poorly printed. Yeah. So you can see the truck there, you can see that same sort of kink in the overhead. Somebody has obviously cut the top of this truck off. That seems to be the fate of all of the ramp trucks, that people thought maybe they'd get better fuel mileage with them if they cut those T-boxes off.
There's a front view. Oh, that's good.
It's windy. So check out the paint job that used to be on this thing. How cool is that? It's like a crazy mural.
Yeah, the paint job sounds like a jet airplane of some kind.
Don't you guys love our videos? We're so
this
professional.
This is high class, you know.
Hold on, look. That is the edge of the Dick Landy ramp truck, which we also own.
The market is cornered.
Yeah, that's basically how we got this.
Well, I should add how we got this.
Yeah, why don't you tell the people?
Well, because when you get one ramp truck, people kind of know you as the ramp truck guy, and so they want to provide you with more. And David Freiberger found this on Craigslist, and he called Ilana and said, "This is right up your alley." And Ilana called me about it, and then I went and got it, of course.
Actually, I think I texted you and I said, should we corner the market? And then the next thing I knew, you were sending me a video of you and all your drunk friends driving this thing around the block like multiple times while our neighbors were cheering.
When you have a running ramp truck, you have to drive it, so we did that.
All right, Tom.
The truck is terrible.
Tom, walk us through this ramp truck.
All right. D700 crew cab Dodge, 1971. Got the Dayton wheels, way ahead of their time. I hope we can still buy tires for that. I'm not sure.
If you know, let us know.
Let's see. We got this is not factory. This has been customized. Bobby Yowell had a much fancier paint job. Here's the power plant. It's a hybrid. It's a 440 block with a 440 intake manifold, but everything else is 413 Dodge truck. It has full air brakes. I don't know if I mentioned that, but it has a Holley 850, which is the kind of carburetor you want to have on a car hauler. It's kind of funny.
It's basically the opposite of setting up for fuel economy.
Well, somebody put all their old race car parts on this, so it's got a weird combination of things that it actually runs pretty well.
Who had it after Yowell? How much tracking down have you done?
I don't know. A guy named Joe. Well, I forgot your last name, but Joe had it, and that's who we got it from.
And he got it from somebody who was like maybe a small scale circle track racer.
Yeah, I think he was, because it's got a little memorial of somebody on there, late model NASCAR stuff. This truck is very distinctive with this little kick out here. This is like it's Bobby Yowell for sure.
Yeah, and a funny story, because I did in fact talk to Bobby Yowell on the phone. He was excited to hear we'd rescued his truck. And he was telling me that they used to have to take the hood off of their pro stock car to get it on here, and you can see how close even our small scoop on the Dart Light is to the top of the box. And they just hadn't measured it properly when they built the truck, so they used to have to take the hood off, or they'd knock the scoop right off.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
He also told me a pretty good story about the original paint job on the car and the truck. And first of all, if you look up Bobby Yowell, you might think he had like multiple different dusters, but I believe he only had one, and it was just painted different on the two different sides of the car. It was like purple on one side and green on the other. And then obviously the truck had all of this painting on it. And it was done by a very famous mural painter named Greg of Akron. And the story that Yowell told me is that basically Greg came down to the shop, closed himself in with the truck and the race car, and maybe, I don't know, a week later they opened the door, car was painted, truck was painted, there were a lot of empty wine bottles. They paid Greg and he went home.
It's a paint job that would be very hard to replicate in the modern age. And I don't know what it would cost, but it had to have been staggering back then and now. The interior's been changed quite a bit. I think it had bench seats originally. I'm gonna put all that back. If you've got bench seats for this, hit me up. Sort of 1971 Dodge truck dashboard.
How different is this truck from the Landy truck, Tom?
It's very similar. It's a few years newer, so they actually changed a few things. The dash is not quite as cool as Landy's truck, I think. They have the same transmission, basically the same engine, same rear end. Really, it's the same truck. They got a little bit better as time went on. The 71s has a higher gross vehicle weight rating. You know, the usual stuff that happens in late models. There's a lot of little differences, I'm sure. I haven't got this one apart, so I don't know.
Yeah, and originally you were like, well, I'm just going to have it because it took us so long to find the other one, and this one just sort of fell into our laps. And then yesterday, you pulled it out, and you were like, I'm just going to change the fluids in it because we're going to park it again, and I want it to have coolant in it. And then you ended up changing the hinges, re-welding part of the hood, and fixing the latch, and changing the bumper.
Well, yeah, because the old hinge was welded to the hood and the inserts were broken out, so I replaced them. The hood, the problem was, I can look out my kitchen window and see this truck, and the hood was always wonky, and it bothered me. So now I made the hood so it fits good, and we could have it sitting there, not irritating me on a daily basis.
Yeah, I'll be the only one sitting there irritating you on a daily basis. Why don't you shut that fine shutting hood and maybe fire this thing up for the people?
Sounds solid, doesn't it?
Yeah, look at that. Closes nice.
Well, this will kill two birds in one stone because this is a cold start, and we had a request. And bearing in mind, I haven't done anything to this vehicle yet.
All right, so what did you just do for your cold start?
Pump the gas on the Holly 850. There you go. It's alive. It does run. You can drive it.
You want to show people the dash?
Makes a lot of racket because it's building air pressure right now. You can see the gauges. They've been somewhat tampered with. Vintage tachometer. It's a Spicer 5-speed with a 2-speed Rockwell rear end. It's got this thing, which is pretty cool. I don't know. I think it changes the sensitivity of the front brakes, maybe? It's an air brake thing. I'm not totally familiar with it. Air brake gauge. You know, typical Dodge truck of this era.
And there's no back seat.
And there's no back seat. It's missing. How did you get back there?
There's a door.
It's missing these gas tanks right here. It's missing that. On the other side, somebody took it off, and it's also a step to get in, so it's kind of a problem.
Oh, I guess I didn't need to roll the window down if you were going to open the door again.
Oh, I hadn't shut the door. I didn't realize you were in there.
Yeah, sneaky like that. Anyway, at some point we should probably drive it, but currently we're stuck in the yard. We can't get it out.
We can't get it out because I have to trim a tree to get this out easily. But we'll do a follow-up video where we drive this thing around the block, and maybe we'll fire up the Dart too. We'll do both. How's that?
And somebody build a racetrack nearby so that we can go there.
Yeah, or we'll have to move right next to one. All right, well, there you have it. This is how we're going to the track when we finally get back to the track. That is a 1993 Dodge Cummins Turbo Diesel W250, a big truck. This is a bigger truck, a 1971 Dodge D700 ramp truck. You can see the size difference there. Now granted, the ramp truck is only 2-wheel drive, which is why it appears a little smaller than it would normally be if it was a 4x. And there you go. More perspective. I'll give you a little walk around of this beast. You can see this truck is pretty long. Has big tires on it too. It's got the tow package. Last time this thing was used, it was some kind of NASCAR hauler. But of course, it used to be Bobby Yowell's Pro Stock hauler in 1971. Let me back up and give you the real perspective here. It's basically twice as long as an extended cab Cummins turbo diesel, and the ramp truck is missing. There's actually a top piece that's been cut off, so it should be about 3 feet higher, but you get the idea. All right, give us a second. We'll do a more comprehensive look at this thing. Before we go on the drive, here's the instrument panel. Pretty conventional gauges. Oh, power windows, powered by Ed. Here's the air brake parking button. I don't even know what you call it. You know, big truck guys know what these are called. Manual choke, light switch, a vintage aftermarket sun tachometer, some add-on turn signals. Well, here's something pretty funny. Let me see if I can get to it. Bear with me with the shoddy camera work here. Well, that didn't work. Here's something funny. Let me see if I can get to it. See where it says head trucker? This thing had 5 gas tanks on it, if that gives you an idea of the fuel economy. Left rear and front, left rear, I guess. This one says right front, right rear. And way down here, the tank behind the seat, the main tank, they called Linda. Now, I don't know if Linda is still around or not, but Linda, your tank is still in place and it's still working. We got some aftermarket gauge package down here, very much like a Shelby GT500 Mustang would have.
Exactly.
Yeah. Air brake pedal to let you know you've got air, and you better pay attention to that guy right there. All right, Ed and I, are you ready, Ed?
Here we go.
Ed and I are going to drive this thing. It has power assisted manual steering, which has a lot of assist to the right, but not so much to the left. By the way, the turning radius is horrendous. I mean, there's Greyhound buses that can turn around faster. It does drive pretty good. The brakes are sensitive, to say the least. It drives like a regular pickup, except it's 32 feet long. It's pretty loud right now because the windows are all out of the back of it. Everybody on the road is kind of afraid of it. They think I'm dual. So we're looking for Dennis Weaver right now. About the drive, Ed?
I think it's pretty nice.
Yeah, luxury. There's no reason to get an Escalade when you got one of these.
No. It's so smooth.
Here, I'll roll on the throttle when I get it straightened out. You can experience the fury of it. Here, I'll run it through the gears so everybody knows that it actually moves out, right? That's low gear. Second, I guess. Third. Fourth. And fifth. Look at that. chance to buy a big Dodge truck of this era, you know, if it's a freaking flatbed or grain truck or car hauler or whatever, you got to do it because they're pretty fun. Not at all herky-jerky, so don't think, you know, whatever movement the camera's doing, that's all Ed. That's
it's
not
all
me.
This thing's smooth as silk.
Wow, look, do the roads seem smaller to you now, Ed? They seem a little
I
small
think it's
to me.
shrinking. It's shrinking.
They seem a little small to me. All right, thanks for joining us. Here, let me pull back in here. A little recap of that. I want to show everybody the engine running. The truck is moving. Try and stop it. There you go. All you can do is put your hand on it. It stops it just fine.
This thing rolls too darn nice. Too easily.
So here it is. Here it is running.
Here it is, literally running.
Run pretty good, huh? It runs pretty good, doesn't it?
Oh yeah.
When the air compressor is not compressing air, it's actually pretty quiet. Ed, can you step on the brake a couple times? The coolest thing about ramp trucks with air brakes is the air brake sound. Can you guys hear that? So you can pretend you're a big rigger. You can pretend you're a big rig truck driver when you have one of these. All right. So there you have it. Ed and I just survived a ride around the block. Oh, by the way, this truck is not driven in 2 years. We got it running yesterday and driving, so they can go to Texas tomorrow. So Robert, I think you're getting a pretty good truck, and hope you enjoy it. To everybody else, I hope you enjoyed the video. You got to see the Dodge D700.
Let's go on a journey deep in the D700. What are we looking at, Tom?
So we did some maintenance on our one of our big trucks. We have many big trucks because we like big trucks. We rebuilt the power steering system on this truck because it is insanely difficult to drive with power steering that doesn't work. And so this is power assisted manual steering. You can see there's a control valve mounted to steering linkage, and through hydraulics that drives a ram on the drag link. There's a power steering pump. We resealed that. We made up new hoses, reconditioned the control valve, and got it all working. So now we actually have working power steering, which is quite the assist. Pun intended.
Funny man. We also did a little bit of brake maintenance while we were in there, some wheel bearing checks, that kind of thing.
Well, yeah, we while I had the front wheel off here, I pulled the drum off, and we cleaned and repacked the bearings, checked the brakes. You know, we bought this truck. We don't know if it's good or bad. It looks bad, but it's not that bad. So I wanted to know what we had before we go down the highway with it to make sure the brakes and the wheel bearings are good. You know, they needed maintenance. They've been sitting a long time.
Yeah, the answer was they were not good.
They were not good. And then I had a lot of air leaks. This is an air brake truck, and I had to change the control valve, which would be like the master cylinder in the automotive world. That's the main, when you step on the brake pedal, that actuates the air brake system.
You know, Tom, it is possible that 1 or 2 people who are watching this are not familiar with big truck terminology like air brakes. What are we talking about?
Well, big trucks always have an air compressor mounted on the engine. They use air brakes for the braking system rather than hydraulic fluid. And I think the main reason is so they can easily hook up trailers and stuff, so you can just plug in your air line. And you know, compressed air is free basically. Once you compress it, you've got it to use it. And it does a lot of work that hydraulics also can do. But in the big truck world, everything's air brakes because they stop bigger loads.
And in general, air brakes have a safety on them, so if they fail, basically your brakes come on, right? Like unlike hydraulic brakes, where if you fail, you have no brakes.
Well, in the air brake world, if they lose all the air pressure, there's a catastrophic loss of air pressure. They deploy to being on. The parking brake is a big spring, like a coil spring that will apply the brake if there's no air pressure. Air pressure keeps the brakes off.
And that had been bypassed on this truck, so...
Well, yeah, because it wasn't building enough air pressure. for whatever reason, between the leaks it had and possibly the compressors worn out, it was only achieving 65 psi. And you need about 100 psi to be safe. And so somebody else, did the quick, easy fix of just bypassing all the engineered safety into the vehicle.
Oh, you don't need that unless something goes wrong.
Yeah.
Ow. I tripped over something. Very
did too.
unsurprising. You don't have any excuse to trip over things, Tom. You don't even have the camera.
I don't think I did that.
Oh, yeah. Safety first in our shop. Okay, what is going on here?
Well, rear brake maintenance. Once again, we don't know what we've got, so we're taking it all apart and rebuilding it. These are air brakes. This is what they call a wedge style air brake. These are the wedges that I zip tied it on, I can't pull it off. These drive into these little air brake chambers from the back side, and it will push the shoe out, one for each side. A lot of brakes have external linkage, like an S-cam style brake, but this is not that. This is called a stop master brake assembly, which means you are the master of stopping.
Clearly.
It's a little more complicated. They're self-adjusting, and it's a lot more work to renew than the S-cam style, but once you get it done, it's more maintenance free, I think. Some big truck guys out there are probably like, that guy don't know nothing about air brakes. Let's look over here at let's talk about, these are the spring brake assemblies. In here is a giant coil, well, giant, it's a coil spring, a very high tension coil spring, and air pressure keeps it compressed. So if you lose your air, the spring will expand and apply the brakes through this tube on that little push rod. And this thing with the threads here, this screws into the backing plate on the brake assembly. It has two on the rear. This is the standard service brake, and there's also another one that piggybacks on this one. So it's like dual diaphragm braking. These are very old rubber-ish brake hoses. They aren't any good, of course, now.
Hoses formerly known as rubber?
Yeah, they're not there. They're rock hard. The wheel bearings are pretty interesting. They're pretty tiny, pretty good sized stuff.
Oh, ow! The dog just hit me with his tail when he ran by, but this thing is really heavy, like 3 pounds.
Yeah, and here's the wheel bearing grease seal, which is pretty good size. I'm not a big truck expert, but that seems like a pretty good size seal. Let's look. The drums are 15 by 6.
Wait, I want to look at the axle.
Oh yeah.
Look at that. Ignore this 440. Just ignore it. Doesn't exist.
The axle's pretty good size. We'll have to call up Strange and see if they can make new ones. Try and soup it up. And then these are drum brakes. They're 15 by 6 on the rear, 15 by 3.5 on the front. Pretty.
I swear we're getting less and less professional.
Let me go underneath the truck. I want to show you guys the size of the rear end housing in this thing. I think it's pretty entertaining. Now, that is the rear end to have in your street rod. I'll put a Coke can there for size comparison. Maybe you can see how big that is. But, you know, 4 9-inches are pretty cute. But if you had this in your super gas car, you'd never break it.
It would just be like a wheelie all the way. It would just tilt the front up without you even having to step on the gas.
For sure. This is a dust shield. Pretty good size. Let's talk a little bit about these deadly wheels over here.
Oh yeah, I'm not getting too close to those.
Don't stand in front of it. This is a split rim type wheel, and you will notice that this one is cracked, which could not be any more dangerous, basically. These are multi-piece wheels. You have to be very careful around them. We're not going to retain these because I recently found out that because this truck has Dayton wheels, you can buy tubeless Dayton rims to put in here, a 22.5-inch diameter. These are 20-inch tires, which are, I think, obsolete in the modern world. So we're going to convert that to a tubeless style rim, use the same hub, but the more modern 22.5-inch, safer tubeless wheel. These things, you know, that's just horrendous. and I think this was cracked when they put it on because they put this one on the inside purposely. But you know, do a little maintenance around here, trying to fix things up while I got the time to do it.
Yeah, you know, and no time like the present.
And I will also comment that the hub and brake drum assembly is so heavy, I had to use my cherry picker to take it off.
Well, speaking of things being so heavy, you actually went and purchased a new jack just to be able to lift the back end of this truck up.
Oh yeah, that's a pneumatic truck jack. Actually, it's new. It's from Craigslist. That's an Italian-made jack. It works really well. The capacity is 101,000 pounds on its lowest setting.
So that's like, I can't even do the math as to how many stands you could pick up with that jack.
Well,
it's a lot. He weighs about 8 pounds.
It would be a lot of wiener dogs, yes. Its capacity at the tallest setting, which is what it's at now, is 33,000 pounds. So pretty stout jack.
How much do you think the truck and car weigh right now?
We're probably about 15,000, I think.
We could pick up another truck on top of this truck.
Well, I plan on getting bigger trucks.
All right. Well, as soon as that occurs, we'll be back with another video.
Yeah, there you go. A little update. So I'm getting ready to do some work on this old truck. This is my 1971 Dodge D700 ramp truck. I'm going to try and make it more drivable. It does actually run and move. Let me see if I can open the hood one-handed. That'll be something, huh? Oh yeah. It does run and move, but there are quite a few things about this engine compartment that are not satisfactory for long distance travel. It has an ancient 850 Holley double pumper on it, which is probably not the best choice for going down the interstate hauling a lot of weight. Has a General Motors alternator wired in. And being a Dodge guy, I just can't have that, so we're going to put the Chrysler one on. The pulleys are all pretty messed up. They don't really match. They're not a complete set. Let's see. Expert camera work again. The air brake compressor. I've done quite a bit of work to the air brakes on this truck, but that compressor is pretty shot. It puts oil into the system. So I've got a new compressor, a rebuilt one. I'm going to put that on. I thought this would be a good time to clean up the engine, maybe repaint the engine. The radiator is missing the fan shroud. I have a fan shroud for it, and so I'm going to put a shroud on it. Try and keep it cool. As you can see, you got to pull the radiator out to actually do that. It's for a big truck, it has very little engine compartment room. That's the plan. I'm gonna bring you guys along while I try and refurbish this truck and make it reliable so that we can start driving it. But it's 1971 Dodge D700 ramp truck, the former Bobby Yowell ramp truck if you're into early pro stock racing. I'll bring you guys back when I get the camera all set up and I'll show you some of the work. Alright, I'm back. I think the first order of business is going to be pulling the radiator out, because you can see the fan bolts are very close. It'd be very hard to get them out. You probably could, but I'm gonna pull the radiator out to make my life easier. I already undid the bottom hose. There's a pan underneath it. Caught all the coolant, which was green, by the way. Oh, I'm gonna set you guys up. Let's see what happens here. I give you the best possible cinematography. Oh, luckily that bolt's already loose. Here, I'll make some attempt at protecting the radiator. I hope I can lift this thing. I'm gonna turn this around. I can't put the cardboard in right. This is the biggest Dodge truck gasoline engine made back in the day. They called it their HT 413, high tonnage 413. This one's been rebuilt. It's missing a lot of the stock features, like they would have come with a governor originally. It doesn't have it, but that's all right because we don't need a governor. Let's see. Well, that hose has been on there a while, huh? I have to buy some new hoses. These look pretty crusty. I'm gonna try and make this truck so you can drive it anywhere. I thought about doing a diesel conversion, and I still think about that. But man, it's a lot of work. You got to change the rear end gears too, because it's all geared for a gas engine. The higher, it's got a 2-speed rear axle, and the high range is like something like 650 to 1, which is pretty low gearing. A couple more bolts. Should have this thing out of here. Bolts are 3/8/16, by the way. Pretty big for holding the radiator in. Bolts are out. Boy, I hope I can lift this thing. Alright. We'll make an attempt. There's no handles on it, of course. The trick is to not damage it as you pull it out. Hold up on something. room to get out, maybe. She's tight. And she's pretty friggin' heavy. So with one hand, I will reach down here and rotate the fan as we go. Rotate it a little bit more. It'd be easier to do if I had somebody else here. We're not giving up shit. So turn it more. I'll explain this when I get it out of here. Holy moly, that's heavy. All right. So that inlet right there, had to clear the fan, which I turned one step of the way so they could be in here and rotate it out. It's a piece of cake if you're daring to do it. All right, radiator's out, and because I didn't bring enough tools out here, got to go back and get more tools. Be right back. So of course I was curious what this freaking radiator weighed. It's about 64 pounds. I can put that scale back in the bathroom now. Lana will never know. And set you back up here. Do a little more taking apart this thing. By the way, I'm standing on a car trailer because it's so freaking high off the ground. It's hard to work on. Wow, there's actually a tight bolt on it. So back in the 50s and 60s and 40s and before that, actually, Dodge trucks made very big trucks. Like, I don't know what the modern equivalent would be. Maybe a Ford F750, something like that. In the late 70s, Chrysler got out of the truck business altogether. But they built everything up to 18-wheelers. These trucks with the conventional cab, the biggest one they made was a D800. Like I said, this is a D700. They had 6s and 500s and 400s all the way down to the, 300 to 200, 100 trucks. The gross vehicle weight rating for this truck is 26,500 pounds. The gross combined weight rating, truck and trailer, 55,000 pounds. So you can imagine a 413 gas motor, pulling 50,000 pounds down the highway and up over a hill. They would do it. They wouldn't do it fast, but they would do it. That's why they're geared low. This truck turns about 3,300 at 60 miles an hour in the high range. I can't even imagine what it must have been like to go over the, we have the grapevine out here. It's like a 6% grade. I can't even imagine how fast you would go over that. All right, getting down to it now. The air brake compressor, I gotta take the air lines off of it. These trucks could have had hydraulic brakes too, but this one had the optional air brakes. It's a Bendix Westinghouse system. Common on big trucks of this era, Ford to GM, all of them. All very similar, and all very similar to what they use today. The air brake compressor is lubricated by the engine. It's integrated with the engine. Kind of cool. Has an oil drain. Goes right back to the oil pan. the mounting bracket of the air brake compressor is actually the oil pan for the compressor, which is kind of funny. Let's see. Compressor's liquid cooled from the engine. These are water lines. I'm probably going to put new ones on. They're steel braided, but steel braid, you can never tell how good the hose is on the inside. Wow, that's a nice hose fitting. It's literally a piece of, it's like galvanized pipe. Another water hose. Oh, that one's tighter. Great. Yeah, it's not that tight. Alright. Let's see. Some of this bracket is missing. Like, I haven't loosened the mounting bolts, but I can flex the freaking compressor. And you shouldn't be able to move that. That should be much tighter. Oh, the bolt's tight. But they've cut away some of the bracketry. I can only guess to make working on it easier, but do you ever wonder how the original stuff that came with the truck went missing? Like, how come this stuff is not here still? I always find myself wondering that. Somebody re-engineered it along the way. And I don't think they made it better. I guess it was better for them, but not better. There's a difference. Wow, that bolt is really awkward. I'll try my other hand. No, that don't work either. No wonder they cut the bracket away. You can't reach it. You just have to use your mind's eye to do this. When you can't see it, just imagine what it looks like. Oh, there's a piece of broken bracket. maybe that's why it's flexing. All right, gonna get the oil drain off here. It's just another braided hose hooked up to the bottom. It does have an AN fitting, very fancy. Alright, this guy. There's one right there, look at that. My calculations are correct. This is the last one. Any medium-duty truck place has these compressors. They're not hard to get. If you've got a big truck like this, don't go to AutoZone. You got to go to a medium-duty truck parts place because they have all the parts books for them. These things are very commercial. They're not serviced in the general population. Picked a nice hot day to do this too. Right in the sun. No reason to work in the shade. Oh, that thing is actually pretty heavy. It might be heavier than the radiator. When we drop that, we're gonna be a failure. Let's see. Oh yeah, there we go. Belt is off. Oh yeah, wow, this is heavy. This is heavier than the radiator. There you go. Well, I got that out. Let's see, what else we got here? You got General Motors, get rid of him. I know everybody loves these GM alternators, but I don't. Better cover up that oil drain hose too before something falls into it. We're getting her pretty well stripped down. Pretty quick, actually. Oh, I lost the freaking wrench. There it is. Oh, of course, different size. 3/8. Nothing on this truck is metric, or nothing should be metric. Wow, it's not 3/8. Be 7/16. Nope. Wow. See, this GM alternator has a metric nut on it. I stand corrected. Luckily, I brought a metric wrench out. You can get these crescent wrenches in both sizes, metric and standard. Yeah, you see, there's another reason not to have this alternator. It has a metric nut on it. You don't need that. No offense to the metric system, people. You know, most of the world enjoys the benefits of it. But here in America, we're too ignorant to learn it. Probably only get sympathy from the British. Getting the bottom bolt out, which oddly was finger tight. A lot of things on this truck seem to be finger tight. All right, got that bolt out. Belt off. Let's see. Got rid of that thing. All right, you can see, wow, that's a hell of a pulley right there. Wow, it's heavy too. You can see the big pieces missing. I'm gonna have to see if I've got something in my inventory to make this better. This pulley weighs about 30 pounds. It's actually cast iron. All right. Everybody wants over here. That's the 413-3 water pump assembly. Bigger than a regular 440. Has a Zert fitting on it too for the bearing. Much bigger hub too for the fan. All right, what am I gonna do next? I think I'm going to degrease this engine. I'm going to spray it down and pressure wash it and get it ready for the next step. All right, I'll bring you guys back. Bendix air compressor. On the bathroom scale, we're looking at about 58 pounds. There you go. I knew you'd want to know that. more time. Just like cleaning a shower. Time to remove the 850 Holly. That's a nice little spacer thing. If you're not aware, 850 Hollies are better suited to race cars than tow trucks. But this thing was owned by a racer, and he probably had it laying around and threw it on anyway. On the other hand, maybe it's the ultimate towing setup, who knows? I've never been brave enough to try it. Off camera, I managed to cut my thumb pulling off some hoses. This thing was broken and it's sharper than it looks. But we don't stop work for a little pain. This is a manual choke. The truck is a manual choke truck. I'm going to retain that. I'm going to put a manual choke Edelbrock on this. The AVS2 with the annular boosters, because I've never bought one before and I thought I wanted to try one. Edelbrock had two kinds of 4 barrels. They used to make the Performance Series, which was the original, like Carter AFB style. But they got a new one where the boosters are set further down in the venturi, so it makes for a very sharp off-idle response. I'm gonna try that. Boy, that was the tightest thing on the truck. This is 3 pressure washes, by the way. It's fairly grimy. That is not the right size. How about this one? 1/2 inch. Don't need this spring on here anymore. Oh, that spring is on there good too. We'll leave that for last. As bad as this carburetor looks, it actually worked pretty well. With one minor fault, the secondaries are stuck in the bores, and so if you floored it too much, it would just stay open. I guess that would be unintended acceleration. Except the acceleration in this is not so dangerous that you can't rein it back in. Alright, all that done. We got our spring loosened up. See if I can get that off. Man, that spring is... I put that on there not to come off. We put this on never to come off. There we go. Alright, 850 is off. Got a fancy little 4-hole spacer plate here. I'll probably leave that because they've customized the throttle. The original setup on this truck, whereas the throttle on a normal carburetor is rigidly hooked up, because this had a governor, it was on a spring tension. So there was actually no physical connection between the carburetor and this guy. In the stock setup, it was spring tension, and the governor would override your foot if it felt that you were going too fast. All right, we're gonna shove a rag down in here, just like any good doctor does. I'll make sure to pull it out before we start it again. I'm going to be, well, we all are going to be painting this engine. We're going to do a Krylon rebuild to make it look presentable. Get it ready for the used car lot. What's this? It's a wire to nowhere. Look at that. We'll have to do something with that. Spark plug wires. We're going to pull these guys off. Somebody made these for this engine, which is extra funny because they actually had the distributor and 180 out. And number 1 is up here, but in the stock Chrysler setup, number 1 is down there. So we're just gonna leave it like it is because he already made the wires and they're good enough. But we don't want to get paint on these fancy. Would you call these pink? I don't even know what color these are. Red? They look pinkish. We're gonna keep them for now. I don't feel like buying wires. Wow, that one's a little green. There you go. Wires are out of the way. Getting ready for the paint job coming up. All right. Get this guy out of the way too. The Excel Super Coil from the 80s. I don't know if I'll keep that or not. It doesn't look very truckish, but it is working. Have to consider that. A couple other things to note. There are incorrect water fittings here. You see how it's threaded? That's not for a hose. And there's 2 of them like that. So I'm going to try and find the right fittings that actually go from pipe to an actual hose. And we'll make it as it should be, not as it was. And then I've also got to figure out some kind of custom bracketry for the alternator. And I might add an air conditioning compressor while I'm here, because now would be the time. And then I can figure out all the belt sizes and get the new compressor, air brake compressor, and the AC compressor mounted. There's not much space. You would think this would have more room, but there's power steering right there. You see it? Kind of a weird place for a power steering pump on the passenger side. It's got to have an alternator, it's got to have an air conditioning compressor, it's got to have the air brake compressor, and it's got to have some kind of idler pulley to tension the air brake compressor, and maybe maybe some other ones too. All right, I will bring you guys back when I get along a little bit more here and try and figure out what the hell I'm doing, because this is a lot of work. I thought it would be easy. funny camera work at best, huh? And there you go, Krylon rebuild without the Krylon paint. But that looks a lot better, doesn't it? A show vehicle now. All right, there you have it. Okay, it's a couple weeks later. It's still hot outside. I think I left you guys with the paint going on this fine power plant. I'm just now getting all the bracketry going back on. That's a rebuilt air compressor for the air brakes. It's actually a bigger one than what the truck came with. It came with a Bendix Model 400, and that is a Model 500, because there's no reason to have a small air compressor. Painted it Chrysler Corporate Blue. It looks a lot better, doesn't it? Like if you were buying a used car from me, you'd be like, wow, that's got a new motor in it. It doesn't. It's new paint. There's my friend Ed.
Hello.
Ed did all the paint work on these brackets right here that I made.
Still recovering.
There is the combination one-off Sandin AC compressor and Lease Neville alternator bracket. This is the Lease Neville. A Chrysler assembly from back in the day. This is a Dodge truck, 105 amp from the mid 70s. That's what I'm putting on it. This is the lower, what do you call this? The lower alternator bracket mount.
Sure.
The paint is still wet, but if you're like me, you can never wait for it to dry. So I made all this this adapter here to put that alternator on. This little guy. There's a sliding bushing in there to tension the alternator when you tighten it down. Just a piece of aluminum. It's actually very hard to make these brackets. I wish I was better at fabrication, but I'm not. And so I did the best I could. I made these guys. These are support braces. One is for the alternator, one is for the AC. Just a short video to bring you guys up to date. I think I'm going to put the brackets on, and then we'll talk more about them. Does anybody else ever clean up their yard before they work on anything? Look at the obstacles we've got here. Although the car trailer is kind of handy because the truck is too high.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd use it all the time.
We got the Cummins turbo diesel exhaust, the muffler. I hacked it off and went straight pipe. 12-bolt Chevy laying in the weeds. And a whole bunch of obstacles just to work on this truck. Jesus.
Cam didn't go down. So
All right. It might have been easier to clean up the yard first, but that didn't happen.
It's for the week.
This will be the most exciting footage you're likely to see today.
Riveting.
don't even know if I can hold this thing and put the bolt in.
Well, remember, lift with their spine.
It's like the alternator is like really heavy and awkward.
It's all about being awkward, Tom.
Wow. That was not super smooth.
Sure it was. It's smooth for me watching this.
I'm gonna use a wrench. Alternator's too heavy and can't hold it.
You had to have that big giant alternator. Power your house with that thing.
I made this bracket. Have we touched on that?
I'm sure we did, but
You're like about 12 times.
we're going to go in again. We're going to keep it going.
It's a nice bracket, you know. I don't know if anybody else has this much trouble fabricating things, but trying to figure out where to put the bracket was difficult.
There was no trouble. You got the magic of editing. Come on.
Trying to hold the alternator and make the bracket was difficult.
Okay.
And here we have
I think Tom's back has recovered since.
the King Kong of brackets. This is the top bracket part.
That's the mothership of brackets.
That guy goes there.
It's like the USS Enterprise.
Yeah.
Okay.
And now I've already lost the bolt for that.
Perfect.
There it is.
There it is. Good thing you had that bolt there.
I'm telling you, that was a good test for bracket.
It might have been compromised. You might want to check it.
You can't break that bracket.
You can probably, I'm pretty sure you can pick the truck up with that bracket. Man, that thing is nice. It's too nice. You should have it on display.
Right. I'm jealous of people with better fabrication skills.
No,
I'm embarrassed how long it took me to make all this.
I'm embarrassed filming this. Come on.
I feel sorry.
You're
For
way
the,
better than me, so
I
hey,
feel sorry for the YouTube folks.
I'll cry for him right now. I'm shedding a tear. Actually, it's sweat. It's like 85 degrees. It feels like.
It is ridiculously warm in
Yeah.
what day is it? November or something?
Yeah, it's November. Is it the 29th? Either way, it's November.
Either way, it's too hot.
It shouldn't be 80 something degrees. And the thing is, it's not even the heat of the day yet. It's going to be warm. Completely still, no breeze at all.
I don't know why there's so many bolts holding this alternator on. Who made this
You
bracket?
made the giant bracket that needed 14 bolts, Tom. You've made that little kickstand there. Little
Yeah,
bracket.
yeah, you need
That's a
that.
beauty.
Trying to make it more stable.
Yeah. Stay-bill. You add stay-bill to the fuel tank too. Been sitting for a bit.
Yeah, thanks for the comment, Ian.
Mmm.
So I need, let's see, this bracket here.
That one. Okay.
I made this guy.
You made it.
This is like a, what should we call this, a support beam?
And that's the one you use the tube bender? Oh, no, the other one.
this
I'm sorry, the other one.
Yeah.
Okay.
I made, this is like, just to add some support. Problem when you have big fenders like this is you put all the freaking hardware and bolts on it
See, that's the result right there of having giant fenders.
and everything you got.
It's basically a roll away, a giant roll away. Like you can haul a car with too.
So this little piece of steel tubing goes down to the exhaust manifold, like an extra little support brace. Of course, it's better when you have the exhaust bolt,
Yeah.
which is now missing.
Wow.
Isn't that something? Funny, Ed, it's gone.
Weird.
You guys ever lose bolts all the time? Because I do.
Yeah. You're not doing it right if you don't lose a bolt. So hey,
Found it.
there you go. You know, could have stopped filming. Could have said you had it all the time.
Yeah.
Not doing
This
it
is live TV right here.
live. Live, right? All the way live. That giant compressor.
You know, I probably should have marked these brackets because I think it's on backwards. Did we capture that officially?
We did. It's all captured. Everything's documented, Tom.
You know, I made all these brackets
Even
in
the
place,
mishaps.
and then I took them off and thought, well, you know, I ought to paint them. I did all that, and now I can't remember how they go on.
Yeah. That's a memory game.
Yeah, that guy was backwards. It fits better this way.
Yep. Sure does.
That is a lot better. Be careful who you let work on your car.
You put stuff backwards on my coronet too, Tom?
Yes.
Perfect, see? It'll go smoothly.
I like the paint job on this engine.
It is a beauty.
It'd be cool to have like a refrigerator that color.
You know, that can happen if you have enough paint. I saw a refrigerator in the kitchen. It might need a touch-up.
All right, come along.
Yeah.
Need one more bracket. I made this guy too. Another support bracket. Probably should have marked which way is up on this one too.
No. Not gonna happen, Tom. You're just gonna take a wild guess. It's pretty damn nice, though. Holy crap! Are you sure you did that? Or
I
you buy
did it.
You did.
Yeah,
All
it
right.
took me way too long. If I was making a living trying to do this, I'd be hungry.
You would not be doing a living.
Nope.
You might be famished a bit. Where's that dog that was barking?
You know, I thought I brought a lock washer out here, but we'll have to look for that later.
Yeah. That's part of it.
Part of it. Oh, we had the AC compressor in place.
Yeah, I put it over there.
Yeah,
I
far away.
was hiding it from you, Tom.
Everything on this truck is about 20 feet off the ground.
Yeah, and that's the lightest component you'll ever put on right there. That sand compressor.
You know,
Hey,
the dog is
Hey,
quite
Derek.
loud.
he's very loud.
He
He's
thinks
so long.
if he was up here, he'd help us.
He builds that velocity because he's so long. It's like a travel. Has to travel.
He's like a tuned one.
He's very well tuned. Like Jeer Stall. Totally tuned headers. Hi. Hello, Jerry. Your ears inside out. You might want to
I can't
fix
wait for someone to comment that I should have just put a serpentine belt on it.
That. That's coming. Brace yourself. Brace yourself for those comments.
And
Tom.
they might be right, but you know.
Well, we're not listening to them because they're sitting there giving orders from their couch. Come on. Or suggestions, whatever you want to say.
I'll tell you what, if you've never built brackets like this before, it takes a long time.
It looks like it.
I don't know how anybody does it quickly.
Glad I came by after you did all this.
Don't forget there's a idler pulley has to go on too.
Ah,
This is for the air brake compressor.
right. It's very high tech.
Yep. One thing I don't have yet is belts, which is a problem.
Well,
That looks pretty good, doesn't it?
it does. Stay. Yeah. Let me try and get the light there. Oh, yeah. She's View Clark.
The restoration head.
Restoration shop. In action. Just going to film this spot here. I'm not going to go off to the others. This one's
There
nice.
you go. Let me give everybody a little overview of the details of it. I don't know if it's the lighting. The lighting's terrible here.
I just had that one angle.
Is that any
just so I
better?
wouldn't get shadows and
No.
everything.
Well, you can see that's where the freaking support bracket mounts. You don't want this stuff just flopping in the breeze, so I tried to make it as rigid as it can be. It's all loose right now, but
It's pretty nice.
you know, the power steering pump is at the very bottom down there. You guys can see it. So that's one belt. And then there's two belts for the water pump and the AC and the alternator. And then there's one belt for the air brake compressor. A lot of belts, a lot of V-belts.
Yeah. You're covered on that.
So I don't know if that's the best way to make a bracket and to mount the thing, but that is the way I did it.
It looks impressive.
And so there you go.
That black paint is beautiful, by the way.
Yep. I get a little further along, and I'll bring you guys back. It's not done, but here's a cold start of it. Like that, dead cold, no choke on it yet. My belts are working so far. Running pretty nice. The air brake compressor is compressing currently. That's why it has that induction noise. Yeah, there you go. That easy. And from the driver's side, the hot restart. So good. All right, I'll get back to work on it, finish it up. So I've replaced this ancient 850 Holly with this brand new Edelbrock. I guess it's a 600, maybe 650. I don't know actually. I didn't pay enough attention to it. It's the manual choke model, which will work good for this truck because it's a manual choke truck. And I've added a Fram fuel filter here. It's kind of the racing high performance one. I'm gonna make some fuel line for this thing now. I'm gonna go from here to over here. But I'm gonna use a little short piece of rubber hose right here and then a hard line up to the filter. I wanna try and isolate the carburetor from engine heat. You know, modern gasoline boils at a very low temperature, and old carbureted engines have a tendency of boiling the gas in the carburetor. So I'm trying to keep the carburetor as cold as I can. It's got a thick insulator here and it's going to have a piece of rubber so that there's no metal connection between the carburetor and the engine. And I need to make fuel line over here too. It's going to be hard tubing. I'm going to make it so it runs down in there. I don't know if you can even see that, but it's going to come out somewhere down here to the frame rail. This is the fuel line from the fuel tank, and it's going to need, I'll probably replace it, I think. Somebody's added this. The original line probably rotted off, but it's very crudely installed. As you can see, it just moves pretty loosely. So we'll try and pretty that up a bit. So I'm going to show you how I bend steel tubing to make fuel line. A lot of obstacles in my yard. You got to walk around everything here. I got the Jeep. Some engines that don't belong to me that have not been picked up yet. This is the tubing I'm going to use. It's 3/8 steel tubing. It's round in a big coil, and obviously I don't want it to look like that. So this tool is a tubing straightener. You basically gently uncoil this, and you run it through these rollers, and you progressively tighten down this knob, and you just run it back and forth, and it does a good job of straightening that tubing. And I'll show that to you guys when I get to it. Then I'm gonna use this tubing bender. This is from Tubing Bender. Let me rephrase this. What is this called? I don't even know. It's the thing that makes the flares on the end of tube. A tubing flarer? I guess that's a good word for it. This is from Eastwood, but you can buy them anywhere. This is the best one I've ever used. It's very simple. You just dial in whatever size you're working on, whatever flare. And yeah, there it goes. So let me get started. I'll set you guys up. What I can do is unfold this a little bit. A little bit more than I need here. Roll it back and forth. At the same time, turn it in a circle like so. Go. Now, by the way, you don't run it over the edge because this will tear into your rollers. So you don't worry, that's just waste, don't worry about it. But it makes a pretty nice straight piece of tubing that you can then make into your fuel line. Got to cut it now. So I like to use the bandsaw to cut this because if you use a tubing cutter, you know, the thing with the wheel on it, it kind of work hardens the metal. It makes it harder to flare. So I found that if I just cut it with this tiny little bandsaw, it makes a nice edge. It's nice and square, and then I can get the burrs off of it and flare it. Little deburring tool. It's a good idea to clean up the edges before you flare it so that you get the best possible flare. Don't need that guy. Now we need this guy. There's different dies depending on what size tubing you're using. This is 3/8 tubing, so we need 3/8 dies, which is not that one. The dies have the number on the edge, like 3/8. Let me bring you guys over so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, we've got the tubing all straightened and deburred. I used a little sandpaper on the outside to get rid of the little extra burr. It's a good idea to put the flare nut on now. Obviously, if you flared this tubing, you're not getting the flare nut on afterwards. We got the right size dies. You put the tubing in there. You just set it in there. Put the catch over the top. Put a little bit of light tension on this guy. What you want to do now is this tool has like a positioning die to it. So you rotate it around, just a flat piece of metal. So you rotate it around, and this will position the tubing at the exact right place within the dies. It just backs it up against the dies. Then you can snug this down more thoroughly. You don't want the tubing sliding in the die. We're going to do a 3/8 double flare, and so that's 2 operations to accomplish this. Each one of these dies forms a different shape. So we're going to use the one that's labeled 3/8 operation 1. You give it a pull until it bottoms out. Then you rotate this to 3/8 operation 2. Give it a pull until she bottoms out. Loosen this guy up, and at this point, it's handy if you wiggle the tubing and turn it to break it free of the die before you pull the pin and flip it out. It just makes it easier to get the die off of it. And you can see we just made our 3/8 double flare pretty easily. Anybody who's ever tried to flare tubing with the little hand tools knows how hard that can be. And if it doesn't come out right, you just do it again. Like you can look at it, see if there's any defects. This one looks okay to me. And there you go. It's a pretty nice little tool. I recommend you buy it. They're not that much money, maybe $125, something like that. But it's the best flaring tool I've seen for the home hobbyist. Okay, we're back at the truck. Now we need to figure out how long this guy's going to be. And you can see my tube. Jesus Christ, who the hell's calling me? Really? Right now you have to call? Okay, I forgot to touch on this. If you want to put a hose on this, you should really have a little bubble end on it. And the way you do that is you put it back in the dies. And you're just going to use the first operation, like operation 1 for the 3/8 die. And you don't pull it all the way, you just pull it a little bit. A little bit's a very scientific number. But you can see it makes a little bubble on the end. So when you put the hose on, it's less likely to come off. Makes a pretty nice finished product. There you go.